There is a book that no longer exists. It was written over 2,000 years ago by a man who understood things about the human body that doctors would not rediscover for 15 centuries. We know it existed. We know people read it. We know it was considered one of the most important medical texts in the ancient world. And we know it is gone. Not locked in a vault. Not buried beneath ruins waiting to be discovered. Gone. Destroyed before anyone could copy it. And it was not alone. What was lost when the Library of Alexandria disappeared is not just a historical question. It is one of the most unsettling questions humanity can ask, because we will never know what we are missing. To understand what was lost, we first need to understand what Alexandria was. In 331 BC, Alexander the Great founded a city on the northern coast of Egypt. Its location was perfect. It sat between Europe, Africa, and Asia. Merchants, travelers, scholars, and sailors arrived from every direction. Ideas flowed through Alexandria just as freely as goods. After Alexander's death, Egypt came under the rule of the Ptolemaic dynasty. And these rulers had an extraordinary ambition. They did not simply want the richest city in the world. They wanted the smartest one. Their goal was breathtakingly simple: collect all human knowledge in one place. So they built what we now call the Library of Alexandria. But it was much more than a library. It was a research center. A place where scholars could live, study, debate, and make discoveries. At its peak, it may have contained hundreds of thousands of scrolls. Mathematics. Medicine. Astronomy. Engineering. History. Philosophy. Knowledge from across the known world gathered under one roof. The dream was simple: everything humanity knew, in one place. And because of that collection, extraordinary things happened. One scholar, Eratosthenes, calculated the size of the earth. He had no satellites. No airplanes. No modern instruments. Using only shadows and mathematics, he came astonishingly close to the correct answer. Another thinker, Aristarchus, suggested that the earth revolves around the sun, nearly 2,000 years before that idea became widely accepted. A brilliant inventor named Hero designed an early steam-powered machine. And a physician named Herophilus studied the human body in ways no one had before. He identified the brain as the center of intelligence rather than the heart. Many of his writings have been lost. Imagine walking through the halls of Alexandria. You would hear debates about the stars, the earth, medicine, mathematics, and the nature of reality itself. Some of the smartest people alive were trying to understand the universe. In many ways, Alexandria was the closest thing the ancient world had to a modern research institute. But then, something happened. Something that turned the library into a legend. Most people imagine a single night. A giant fire. A library consumed by flames. Knowledge destroyed forever. But the truth is more complicated. Historians no longer believe the library vanished in one catastrophe. Instead, it appears to have died slowly. Wars swept through the city. Political leaders changed. Funding disappeared. Scholars left. Parts of the collection were damaged. Other parts were neglected. Over centuries, the institution weakened. Then weakened again. And again. Rather than one dramatic ending, the Library of Alexandria may have disappeared piece by piece. Scroll by scroll. Generation by generation. Knowledge does not always vanish in a single fire. Sometimes, it disappears because nobody protects it. And this is where the story becomes truly haunting. What exactly was lost? We know of books that once existed because ancient writers mentioned them. Texts that were respected. Studied. Copied. And then vanished. We know Aristarchus wrote a detailed argument explaining why the earth moves around the sun. That work is gone. We know great medical texts existed. Many are gone. We know engineers, mathematicians, historians, and philosophers filled the library's shelves. Most of their writings never survived. But the most disturbing part is this: we can only mourn what we know existed. The books we know about are only the tip of the iceberg. What about the works that nobody ever referenced? The discoveries that were never copied? The ideas that disappeared without leaving a trace? Those losses are invisible. We cannot even name them. Because we do not know they ever existed. People often ask, would humanity be more advanced today if the Library of Alexandria had survived? Would we have discovered certain ideas earlier? Reached scientific breakthroughs sooner? The truth is impossible to know. History is not a straight line. Knowledge alone does not change the world. But one thing is certain. There were ideas inside that library that were never recovered. Questions asked. Observations recorded. Lifetimes of work. Simply, gone. And perhaps that is what makes Alexandria so fascinating. Not the fire. Not the destruction. But the silence afterward. Because the world moved on. Empires rose and fell. New discoveries were made. And no one truly knew what had been lost. Today, we store more information than any civilization in history. We have books, hard drives, servers, and digital archives. And like every civilization before us, we assume our knowledge is permanent. Alexandria believed the same thing. So perhaps the real question is not what was lost 2,000 years ago. Perhaps the real question is, what knowledge do we have today that future generations will one day search for, and never find?